Welcome back. Let's see. Are we live?
Are we?
I think so. 1 second. I'm gonna check. Oh, I think we
You're the
are.
one in charge of this.
Hey, I'm just doing my best. I'm out here just trying to be a person.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it looks like we're good. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to, I guess, episode 3 of Batch Bros Live for Michelle Young's The Bachelorette series. As always, I'm the Han Factor. I am one of the hosts of this podcast, and I am joined by my normal co-host. I've got the Tasty Kebab, Josh here. Josh, say hi to the people.
I am the other host of the podcast.
Yes.
Hello.
The other host. So, the co-host. But yeah, welcome back, everybody. So episode 3 was kind of a doozy in some sense, and then kind of not in others. But it really just kind of opens up with the kind of the lingering question mark from last week of like, who spoke to Michelle, right? Because the guys are still curious. They're like, who made her doubt our sincerity, our intentions with her, to kind of bring up this whole like drama to begin with, because a lot of people seem confused, right? And we know Jamie did it, but a lot of the guys are just kind of in the dark still.
Yeah, we're just picking up right where we left off at last time, and you know, everybody's confused, and Jamie's just gonna bite his tongue and hold on to it. Apparently, this entire goddamn time.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
he was committed. He was like, you know what? I'm not gonna say nothing. Like I want this to be as in the dark as possible. Keep people like nobody's got to know, right? As if it's not gonna come out, I guess, right? Like I thought it was odd that he thought this would remain a secret the entire time, but that's to be seen, right?
Right. It was gonna get there eventually, one way or the other, and not owning up to it
Makes it
not
worse.
a good look.
Yeah. But anyway, I mean, the episodes seem to be following a pretty like regimented schedule here right now. Like there's not a whole lot of mix up. We're going to have 2 group dates, a one-on-one date, and then the rose ceremony. And maybe a cocktail party if we're lucky, but not really having a whole lot of luck lately.
Odds aren't high.
Odds aren't high. And if you're drinking when they cancel the cocktail party, as the Bachelor drinking game goes, you are very drunk by halfway through the season already. But yeah, so the first date card comes in, Josh, and they are going to be going to the danger zone. And the guys going on this date are Martin, LT, Olu, Spencer, Clayton, Nate, Joe, Rick, Will, and Peter. So, initial thoughts on who was selected for the group date?
Well, obviously, the first thing that catches your attention, or mine anyway, was that they're putting Will and Peter back together.
Oh, absolutely.
Which, they had some of their sparks last week, and the producers were ready for more to come this week, and they sure did come through.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, like, there's a couple guys on here that I'm excited to see some more of, mainly because they're my guys. But then, outside of my guys being Martin, Clayton, and Joe, like Nate's looked good, Rick's looked good. Haven't really seen a ton of Olu or LT just yet.
No, nothing at all, really.
Or Spencer. Yeah.
We've seen a little bit of Spencer.
A little
We
bit.
know he's got a kid, and we know he's from Ohio, and that's really about all, though, out of him. But yeah, so similar thoughts as you. I'm kind of like, okay, Will versus Peter round 2, as if Peter has a shot in hell of coming out ahead of this, right? Like. Pretty much everyone's like, oh yeah, Will seems like a nice and genuine guy. Peter seems like an absolute tool. So...
Yeah, I mean, as I said last week, I didn't think that Peter should have made it through to this week. I'm pretty sure that was only because
We needed more
producers were
drama.
begging Michelle to like have another storyline come along. So
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel like this season so far is kind of light on the storylines. You know, it's very there aren't a whole lot of coexisting storylines. How about that? Like everything is very like we're gonna do this one until it ends, and then a new one will open up, and then like I feel like at least last couple seasons that there's some more like it's more intermixed, right? Like the storylines kind of there's some overlap, but not this season so far to me.
yeah, and I'm actually like really curious to see how things are gonna go after this episode because we kind of had
You cut the fat.
like the strings drawn.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the couple kind of like potential sources of drama here.
Yeah. Somebody's got to fill in, right?
What happened at the end of last week? It seemed like there's really no drama between Michelle and Joe either.
No.
So,
oh God, no.
if like you wanted to try and play on something else that's already been shown, like it's just not there anymore. So
No. Agreed.
they're gonna be throwing a wild card in. That's my expectation.
Yeah, they cut the fat. They cut a lot of the dramatic people out this week, and so there's gonna have to be a new storyline that kind of comes from this and is sparked, if you will, because I feel like we just we hit a resolution of everything else, right? Like everything else by the end of this episode gets resolved. But
yeah, so let's jump into this group date, Lewis.
Sure.
The guys show up at the hangar at the air yard. Wearing their jumpsuits and everything.
Yep.
And there's these two guys standing next to Michelle.
Yeah, my first thought was
any idea who they were?
No, absolutely. I wrote exactly down, who the fuck are these people? and then one of them was
it was Peter who was like geeking out over it.
I think that's bullshit though. He didn't know who they were either. Guaranteed. Yeah. Guaranteed nobody knew who they were, but they had to edit it so that it didn't look bad. But
they probably told them going into it, hey, you're going to meet these guys. And Peter's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Thank you,
I know
Evan,
it will
for the
give me
follow.
more time on TV if I acknowledge and act like I know who these people are.
Yeah, I have no clue who those guys were. So
I knew that they were making a Top Gun like remake, but yeah, the casting, no clue.
No, me neither. But yeah, so this date will be interesting, I feel like, just based on virtue of who they brought. And like I said, and they're in their jumpsuits. They go to the Palm Springs Air Museum. We have our guest hosts for the group date, who we have no fucking clue who they are, but I guess they're the upcoming stars of Top Gun, the remake. I don't know that I've seen either of them in anything else either. These have to be pretty well-known actors, if you will. So
yeah, they must be, because obviously not immediately recognizable. I don't think they really have the budget to pull in super big names. So imagine that Disney maybe has a hand in.
Maybe they do. Making the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that may be true. Is that Disney might have their
so they
their
might be
evil
contractually obligated
evil webs sucked onto there. But yeah, so normal training stuff to start out with. They have the guys do push-ups and high knees. Don't know why that needs to be done. I think they're running on a budget this season, it looks like. So but before they get to the third part of things, we see Martin kind of sneaking away and getting some one-on-one time to Michelle to just kind of check in, I think get his face known and his face seen. But yeah, I mean, how do you feel about Martin at this point? I think that's he's one of the guys you drafted. I'm interested to see what your perspective is on him.
Yeah, and so I guess Martin was like I think my third pick. And honestly, based off of appearance, I didn't have high expectations. I thought maybe he'd come in and be like this showy guy that's just gonna like fight for attention, but not necessarily have very much like content to him.
Sure.
But he actually seems like very genuine to me in the bits we've gotten to see of him. And I don't know, maybe it's my bias and I'm just like so entrenched in rooting for him that I can't be objective here. But I've liked him as I've gotten to see more of him.
Yeah, I thought he was definitely kind of creepy in that, like, on that group date last week where he was like, "Oh, I
The
can't."
dancing thing.
Yeah, I can't dance. I just want to, touch you and stick my tongue down your throat. But because it seemed unnatural. Let's put it that way, and that's why I was kind of like it's not like it was like a act like they had a lot of chemistry and that felt like the right thing to do. It just seemed like, oh, I need to do this in order to keep my social standing in this group of guys. But yeah, so
Sure. But this like coming in and checking on Michelle seemed very genuine, and
it did.
being on
I'll agree with that.
like a good way to, at least to have some one-on-one time there.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure Michelle remembers you, and that seems like it'd be something that she'd appreciate. And to me, it seemed like she did.
Yep, I think so too. But date goes on at that point, and they get
Did you
into
have any nicknames that you liked?
I want to know why Rick's nickname was Tabletop. Right?
Yeah, so I had the question of that at first too, because I'm like, oh, is he really into board games?
Yeah, I mean, as a fucking
And
nerd, I
before I
thought the
thought
same
about
thing.
I'm like, probably actually just because he came in with his head on it.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I don't know why I didn't think of that, but
Probably not as complex and deep as I thought.
I like Martin's nickname of Frosty, but I don't know what else we heard. We heard Doughboy for Peter, and I don't remember anybody else's off the top of my head.
Little Willie.
Little Willie. Yeah, those kind of suck, honestly. Right?
We didn't really go over everybody's names.
Yeah,
so
it's no
got so much.
It's no Tasty Kebab or the Han Factor, right?
Oh.
Like we've already got
What
great
could
call
be?
names. I know. So
Could be.
I feel like this is something that you would have thought. Like, what would you want, like a ridiculous nickname to be about you at some point, right? Like, I feel like, at least maybe because we are more involved on the internet and everything than I'm sure most of these guys are, is that maybe we think of these things more often, right? So
Sure.
because
and, I mean, like, being an influencer anyway, like you're trying to have it attached directly to
your name
instead of your screen.
Your nickname. Yeah. No, I get that too. It's like they want to promote a single like entity more so than like there doesn't need to be a disconnect between what their name is and what they choose to call themselves. So
Yeah, we want to be big in our online personas, but we don't want the people that we know to know about our online personas.
Yeah. That's fair. So GeForce Simulator though, Josh, how would you have done? Would you have bombed?
I'm not sure. I think maybe as I've gotten older, I might vomit. I used to like not have any issues with roller coasters and stuff, but now I definitely get more motion sickness. Stuff. I feel like if I really focused in on the task at hand, I'd probably get through it. And I'm gonna try my best to be like cheesy and sweet while doing it too. Keep myself distracted.
I guess.
I'm putting myself through hell, but
I didn't really understand
the most of it.
Yeah, profess your love to Michelle while you spin in this cage. Like it seems silly, So, winners and losers of the spin and die or spin and barf, if you will. I mean, Peter and Will, more fighting because Peter's upset that he did his cheesy thing and spoke a different language, right? So Peter spoke in Italian and Will spoke to her in Spanish shortly thereafter.
And Peter's like, oh, he said the exact same thing I said, only in a different language.
Yeah.
Like, really, I know that Italian
and Spanish are pretty close, but I agree.
But I doubt that Peter fully understood what he said.
Yeah.
And also just the fact that I think Will's really sitting there being like, yeah, I'm going to say the same thing you did because I don't know what to say. I'm just going to put my Spanish flair on it instead of your Italian. Really?
He was like,
come on.
He was like, what did Peter say? All right, let me write this down real quick.
Yeah.
Got it.
In front of my face as I'm spinning around.
No, I didn't feel like that was. I mean, like, it's just a giant pissing contest between the two of them. And honestly, I felt like they were just gearing up to do a 2-on-1 date with him at some point. Right?
Oh, yeah, that's exactly what I said as I was watching it. Like, okay, like next week, if they're around, it's gonna go to a 2-on-1 because there's no way that like this isn't something Michelle's aware of. And
Oh,
not going
absolutely.
to be getting tired of.
Yeah, no, I
Thankfully,
mean,
it resolved itself.
it did.
But
Ugly.
and I was just waiting for it to happen.
Yeah, I just felt like as time went on, that I was just I was kind of over it between the two of them. You know, you said even last week it's like I thought Peter's time was up then, but you know, saved by producers. But
Right.
I felt like if they're gonna keep them going at this point, it's gonna be for a future 2-on-1 date where hopefully the winner was Will. So, but
Yeah, and
we go ahead.
honestly, like I think that Michelle was well aware of what was going on here.
Mm-hmm.
And like the producers tried to like nudge her an extra rose to bring Peter back, and she's just like, no, I absolutely will not do that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is trash. I don't want him on my season.
Yeah, I am over it.
I know you guys are trying to push your storylines, but let's get creative and find something else.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see at this point, you know. But the fourth task that they had to do as a part of their Top Gun training was dogfighting. So they had matchups. I wrote them down. And
Yeah, so we had plane fights, and we lost 10 contestants
we
because
no.
nobody could land a plane.
No, we had people with the pugil sticks beating the shit out of each other for a couple minutes, and then they said, okay, whatever. So, the first matchup that I wrote down was Clayton versus Nate, and there is no amount of money that skinny motherfucker Nate is gonna take down Clayton, right? Like, I love Nate. I've already said that on this podcast, but like, I mean, come on, right?
Clayton
That is
built, man.
yeah, I was like, that is a objectively poor matchup. So most of the rest of them are okay, you know.
Because
So
it was crazy to me with that matchup in particular too, because I noticed a few times that Nate even got like the low positioning to get leverage on Clayton.
yeah,
It didn't matter. Clayton still just overpowered him.
I just think that, I mean, maybe they had to be paired up because Nate is objectively the tallest person, I think, here.
Yeah.
Like, maybe it's just kind of like, well, this is the best of the options we have available to compare to. But yeah, I knew that one wasn't going to go well. Martin versus Spencer. I wrote down that Spencer won that one, which surprises me personally, right? So
Yeah, because I mean, with as small as some of these guys are, I think Spencer's probably the smallest here.
yeah, well, and then also like Martin is pretty like well built, it looks like to me. So I was like, certainly he can.
Yeah.
I was like, Spencer does not seem like a big guy by any means. So I don't know if he just has more experience beating up dudes with like foam sticks, but we'll see. So
I mean, it's a bit of a balance game too, right? Because they're just on this beam.
Okay.
They're doing it, so
One person.
Maybe he's not as graceful.
Yeah, one person that I forgot was even on the date. LT versus Rick. LT.
Your own guy.
Yeah, LT. Well, we'll get into this a little bit because I have got questions of. But LT versus Rick. LT definitely won against Rick. He also looks like he's quite a bit larger than Rick too. So was not really surprised by that outcome myself either. So, and Joe versus Olu. Olu definitely won that. Once again, seems like a little bit of a mismatch. Maybe Nate versus Joe is what I wanted to see, right? I wanted to see those two go at it. But I feel like actually Olu and
really front runners.
well, Olu and Clayton may have been a more competitive matchup, I feel like, than either of the other ones.
Maybe not.
I don't know how big Olu is, but I mean Clayton looks large, right? So
yeah, for sure.
and then the last but not least fight that everybody wanted to see was Will versus Peter. Seems like a very fair matchup to me. They look about the same size, about the same body type, right? and Peter just got his ass whooped repeatedly. Like, not even close. So...
And kind of threw a tantrum about
yeah. And then he's like, oh, he's bullying me. I was like, Peter, this is the fucking game.
How dare he?
It's not like you took the fucking pugil stick and spiked it into your face after he knocked you down, right? Like, get over it. But yeah. So, all in all, that was the first part of the group date, and we had to pick a winner of the Top Gun training. And lo and behold, this went to Will. So Will gets this fun bomber jacket. He gets to make out with Michelle in a vintage car for some reason. Once again, an unbeknownst to me of why that's going on. But yeah, that was the first part of it. So I don't know if there's anything you have to add.
Oh, props to Will.
Mm-hmm. So yeah,
that's really it.
I agree. I think, like, he's got to put up with Peter, who seems like a very frustrating person to be around. So
yeah,
I think he's doing a good job.
This comment I had kind of applies to both halves of the date, where I'm just like, Will, you need to stop feeding into this Peter drama.
Oh, I know.
Just be above it, man.
Yeah.
Because you clearly seem like a much better person, but for whatever reason, you're acknowledging him at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you just ignore him, he's just gonna fade away.
Yeah. Well, we get to the second part of the date where they get their one-on-one time in the afternoon. One thing that I noticed, Josh, is that I don't know what happened, but LT is not on this date at any point in time.
Oh yeah, okay.
So they only have, they brought
catch that at the time, but I did remember thinking that it seemed like it was a little small.
So they brought 10 people to the Top Gun thing, but LT never made an appearance in the evening to watch to talk to Michelle, essentially. Like, that just never happened. So I don't know what happened. I am very curious. It's like they never acknowledge it. Yep, agree.
I mean,
it's just kind of like
how they didn't acknowledge people not going on the group dates last week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I gotta readjust. There we go.
I feel like they could do a little bit better of a job.
I'm just really curious. It's like what happened, right?
Because what's happening in the show? Yeah.
Yeah. Why would he not have been there? The people like editing and writing the show are storytellers. They need to tell a complete story, and so when things like this happen, it kind of, as a viewer, is frustrating because it's like I'm out of the loop, right? I got told a very disjointed story. Not that anybody gave a shit about LT other than me, because I drafted him for this fucking thing that we're doing. But, yeah, but I mean, I think you see my point, though. It's like, what is going on? I
completely agree with you there, because, like you said, they're storytellers. They have writers. They should be, like, keeping track of this stuff and explaining it. Don't put the onus on the viewer to try and figure out what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, usually, like, I'm on the internet looking for stuff as the show goes by, and I mean, I didn't look that hard or specifically for this.
Yeah.
But I didn't see anything about it online, so I shouldn't have to do research to figure out what's going on in this TV show. Like,
yep, agreed.
Clear. Just explain it all. Let us know.
All right, so
I will give a little shout out to production, kind of. Beginning of the episode, they had Caitlin like come in and talk to the guys a little bit before she handed off the date card. It's like, okay, yeah, good, you're utilizing your host.
I still feel like they're vastly underutilized.
We still didn't really see much of them for the rest of the episode.
I don't know why we don't.
A little disappointed about.
I don't know why Tasha and Caitlin are there, and that is in no way to take away from what they are capable of doing. I just feel like the show is not utilizing them. The show is running on its own. I don't know, like, they're just never. I feel like I don't know if Chris Harrison just injected himself into the show more, but he was like omnipresent, right? Like, you couldn't get away from the fucker. But Caitlin and Tasha, who infinitely are more enjoyable to watch, and they seem more fun, and a hell of a lot. Let's see,
I
more
think
woke,
Caitlyn
if you
just
will.
won
But
an award for her podcast. Like,
so we know they're
she's
plenty
clearly like
capable.
a talented personality. Like,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
could have her do more things.
I really
And
feel like they aren't
she's just
using
no
them.
bum.
They're not using them at all, and it's frustrating. You know, I don't know what the problem is or whether they just can't figure it out. But I'm like they may as well just not even be there, is what it seems like to me. Which is, like I said, that's
right.
I don't want to take that stance either, because I like both of them and I want to see more of them. And we've talked about this on previous series of our podcast where I don't understand what their role is because they're not giving them things to do. They're not hosting. They're just there. So, but
yeah, and I don't know. There must be something philosophically that they're like conflicted with. Like they don't know if they're going to be permanent hosts. They don't want to throw them into like doing too much because they want to get people attached to another personality, not them. Or if they're doing stuff and then it's not getting put into the cuts.
mm-hmm.
Who knows? It's bizarre.
Yeah,
They could do better. I hope there's some improvement.
I do too. So Clayton is kind of the first person they show us talking to Michelle on the second part of this group date. He wants to spin with Michelle. They literally just like run around in circles, and then he lands a kiss. And I really feel like this is the first time I've even seen anything of Clayton this entire series, right? Like,
yeah, in the first episode he got like a nice little intro piece to him, but he hasn't really had a ton of interaction with Michelle thus far.
no, he's just kind of there. At least he has been up until this point. So this is the first time I feel like I'm actually getting to see a little bit of his personality, and they seem to have some chemistry. I feel like he's very middle of the road still, like upper middle of the road for me, right?
Sure. You know, he seems like a very nice guy from what we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't have like any sort of personality that really sticks out to me so far.
Mm-hmm.
It's just okay. He's nice, but I couldn't tell you a thing about him. Like, give me some quirk or something.
Yeah, I mean,
you know, something that's gonna distinguish you from the other beautiful men.
he seems like a nice guy that got his ass slapped with a yardstick on the first day, and that's about all I know about him too. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's what I'm struggling with this series too, is that I just want to see a little bit more character development in some of these people. You know, I really don't know that I know a lot of them, because so the next guy was Nate, and Nate and Michelle, they just have a very schoolboy, schoolgirl crush like interactions, right? Like, I can see that they kind of lust each other. I don't know that they like actually have had all that deep conversations, but they at least like are very physically attracted to each other and are like giddy around each other. But I mean, other than thank you, Marcius Oliveira. But yeah, I don't know, Josh. I just feel like Nate is just there, and we know he's one of the front runners based off the edit that he's getting and how much we're seeing. And I like Nate, but I really don't know anything about him other than he comes from what he said was like a difficult family life, at least with the relationships that he's seen, or lack thereof, if you will. So
yeah, and I mean, I thought it was cute how they pretended to like run away from the show to go elope.
Yeah, later. I thought that was a lot of fun. So
I feel like it's good to have that kind of like mentality there where you're like, yeah, you know, screw the show. I just like, if we work, let's go.
Yep. So Joe gets a little bit of one-on-one time again with Michelle too, one of the other guys that I kind of perceive as a front runner this season. And she just kind of talks to him about his quiet confidence again and how he can make an impression on her, but he doesn't have to be the loudest guy in the room and everything.
But it's funny because his personality was very much different when he was playing basketball too.
Oh, was it?
Like,
was he kind of the loudmouth?
I kind of got the impression where he's got like this swagger and energy when he's on the basketball court, where he's like, it's not this quiet personality, he may not be vocal about it, but like he's got that BDE on the court.
Sure.
Is what it looks like.
All right. So
he's just like, yep, get me the ball. It's going in. I know it. He's got that big smile on his face. Like, you can tell he feels really confident there.
Yeah. So, Josh, I feel like the best part of this group date is when we literally see Will and Peter fighting again, and the rest of the guys are like, fuck this, I'm leaving. So everybody just starts getting up and leaving. They just say, I'm not listening to this bullshit anymore.
Yeah,
so...
and then Nate's actually the only one who sticks around, and you just see his face as he's sitting there. He kind of spikes the camera a little bit.
Well,
it's like, what is going on?
What, like...
He had that glass of wine, and I'm like, oh, buddy, just finish it.
It just sounded like 4-year-olds trying to say mean things to each other, too, because it was like, I don't feel like anything they said to each other was much more eloquent than you're a doo-doo head, right? Like, I feel like as adults, they would have a little bit more, you know... they just seem very dense human beings, let's put it that way. Both Peter and Will were... And Will's feeding into it, like you said, too, where it's like, why do you even give this guy the time of day, right? Like, he's an idiot. He's literally just trying to get a rise out of you repeatedly. So...
Yeah.
But... Anyway, Will goes off to have some time with Michelle, and during that time, we see Peter doing something a little bit more dastardly, if you will. And he takes Will's bomber jacket and goes and chucks it in the pool. Right?
Yep.
So...
And this is also something, too, that, like, the other guys are like, hey, come on now, what are you doing with that? So it's not even like it was something that was so impulsive on his side, or he's like, oh yeah, you know, just the heat of the moment got the best of me. It's like, okay, these guys are like saying, hey, you're maybe gonna do something stupid. He's like, damn straight I am.
Stupid's my middle name.
Just literally everybody, at least on this date, cannot stand the guy. It's so apparent.
No, oh god, no. And everybody kind of has said it on multiple occasions now, where it's like I just need some time alone from him. Like, I don't really want to be involved with him anymore. I don't really like him. You know, like, nobody has been like, Peter's my best friend. I really, you know, like, he doesn't seem to have a lot of support out there.
Yeah, I think I caught, like, maybe it was Peter that said it. Somebody acknowledged having like some sort of relationship with Peter, I thought, later on, but it might have just been Peter saying like, oh yeah, that guy's my homie or something. Like, are you sure about that?
Yeah. So tell me, you know, Will comes back and he finds out that his jacket has been thrown in the pool, and he kind of has a moment of weakness where he just kind of breaks down and cries and walks away. And all the guys are like, hey, you know, if you just like just be the bigger man here, like, you will infinitely be viewed that way. Nobody will ever think any differently. But
yeah,
I felt like he took this a little hard, personally, right? And it seemed a little bit dramatic when he was like, it's about what the jacket represents, right? Like, this is about how me and Michelle can overcome any adversity, and yada yada. I was like, dude, come on. You don't even really know her yet. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just thought that like, I mean, Peter's obviously in the wrong. Like, I'm not going to argue anywhere else there. But, like... Clearly. But Will took this way too hard and let it get to him way too much, right? Or am I wrong? I don't know. You tell me. What are your thoughts?
Like, I think overall, yes, he was probably overly sensitive to it. But I do think it's more so just about how, like, he's trying to have this relationship and got rewarded, and this dude's coming and getting up in his face and trashing him for it. And, you know, also, I'm sure that, like, the circumstances of being in this like constant go cycle that they have you on
Oh,
the show.
I know that
As
it's a lot of stress
like
probably to be in
emotionally
this.
and physically exhausted. So, like,
Oh, no
I
doubt
can't
in
imagine
that.
that helping.
Yeah, I just didn't like the whole like, oh, it's it's about what this jacket represented. I'm like, dude, it's a fucking bomber jacket. It doesn't mean anything. So, I get that, he could be stressed out and that this is kind of a vicious cycle environment. I mean, we know that for certain,
and
but
I was afraid that he was gonna go back and try to confront Peter again, and it seems like he finally at least
let
came
it
to the
go.
realization, yeah, that like it doesn't matter what I say to this man, he's gonna be a piece of crap. So let's just live my best life and not worry about him.
Yeah. So, lastly, kind of on this group date.
I want to say.
Lastly, go ahead.
These goddamn producers making him go and fish his jacket out of the pool
with like a thing that doesn't have a net on it. It's literally like just a string attached to a stick.
Well, it's a metal wire. I used it in my old lifeguarding days, so it's pretty serviceable in being able to fish out a jacket. But like, come on, you guys could have done that for him. He's going through stuff. Like, there's no need to make him sit here and try to fiddle with it to pull it out of the pool.
Well,
give my guy a break.
Well, Josh, we do get a little bit more of your guy before the end of the group date with Martin. Martin gets to have some one-on-one time with Michelle where she tells him that thank you for pulling me aside and I really appreciate the encouragement and that you have depth is what she says. So, yeah, and I feel like that was kind of the extent of their conversation. But, I mean, Martin, like I said, he's okay. I don't hate the guy, that's for sure. So.
Yeah, and I wasn't as sure of him last episode, but through like this date, what I saw of him, I've grown to actually like him. Like,
maybe he's just more comfortable.
See the development here.
Yeah, maybe he seems more like a real person to me now.
He put on the glasses this week.
Oh, the glasses.
Yeah.
The lady killers. Here, let me show you something. Oh yeah.
He's got like this party boy look, but he seems very like emotionally in touch, right?
Yeah, I can see.
He's not like this douchey guy.
So
at least from what we've seen so far.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give you that. So I don't think he's a douchebag, that's for sure. It's just that like I just feel like he's starting to show a little bit more of like who he is and his personality, and I like it more than what I did. Earlier. So
I'm excited to see more
what he can bring,
development. Yeah, and see like how he and Michelle will actually play out and connect. So
that kind of wraps up the.
Well, so they got bonus time after he got the rose.
Well,
too.
yeah, I was gonna say he gets the group date rose. So kudos to Martin, and they get bonus time, and they play more cheesy fucking music with a string orchestra. At least it wasn't a band.
I was gonna say I like this much better.
This wasn't a band.
Having time in front of the orchestra, that's cool.
Well, and then like I don't know what type of music they pay for, but it may have well been like the graduation song that they play forever as we go on. You know, like just more cheesy fucking shit. Like nobody wants to listen to this, right? Just like let them have a good time. But I don't know. The after party music after they get the group date roses is always drives me nuts. It's just something about it, I think. So, but yeah, well,
yeah, kudos to me as well because
it gets you an extra point.
Points for Martin.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
So, moving on, Josh, to the one-on-one date. That's kind of the next part of the episode. We get it, and we get to see it goes to Rodney, of all people. So, he said he kind of repeatedly says, he goes, I'm not the tallest, I'm not the best looking, but I've got a big heart and a great smile. And they're playing Truth or Dare. So, I mean, Rodney seems fun. Even before go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I mean, like Malik talking shit about Rodney, where he's like, he's not a threat.
That's what I was gonna say.
Oh, okay.
Like, Malik makes the comment, well, Rodney's a nice guy, but basically I think he's gonna get friend zoned. Like,
well,
she's not really interested in him.
I don't think he's wrong still, personally, because of something that was said later. But yeah,
really? Because I thought Michelle said something that like downplayed that, where she's like, no, I actually like thought maybe he was just a friend.
Yeah.
But
well, he is chipping
away. Feel some connection.
Rodney is chipping away at the friend zone. I don't think that's a good thing.
Is that specifically what she said?
Yes. She said he is chipping away at the friend zone. I don't think that's a good sign for Rodney, personally. I think that buys him another week or two, maybe 3, but it doesn't equate to a lifelong lover. So, but, I mean, that's just kind of that's how I interpret that. But they're playing Truth or Dare, Josh. More blindfolds and food. I don't know what the fuck is going on with the producers, recently, but, more whipped cream and blindfolds and weird shit and feeding each other that I don't necessarily...
Let's not kink shame.
I'm not kink shaming. It's just I'm just glad he didn't put a piece of fucking pepperoni on his toe and make her eat it. I think I've seen enough of this.
I mean, obviously this time it was at least a callback to their previous interaction where she fed him.
Yeah.
So it's not as well, here they are going back to the same food fetish that they have.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, you've done this. Let's turn the tables, build some trust the other way.
Mm-hmm.
I was cool with it.
Yeah, that's fine. And then they get to handcuff each other and look for a key. And
so
that seems a little
cute.
This
whole thing was truth or
dare. Yeah.
Right, which I don't feel like they made.
I don't think any of that was truth or dare.
Yeah, I think these are just kind of like dares.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna put you in some weird situations.
They must not have done any. They didn't show the truce, at least, right? But
they did just a little bit. Is that they did a whole section of dares, and then they went back to have.
When they were talking about things that they fear.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was like, here's your truth card. What's your biggest fear?
Yeah. Yeah. So. But before that, even, so the last dare is essentially get butt ass naked and run around. So
somebody has.
Somebody. As if Michelle's gonna do it, right?
Yeah. Other person has to say, "This is our journey into a microphone." Yeah. Ooh, those two were so equal.
Oh, I know. That's what I was like. There's no way that I know for a fact that if I'm in that situation, I'm butt ass naked, easy. There's no way. Yeah, I mean it's just kind of somebody's got to do it. It may as well be me. So, but yeah. So the truth section though, Josh, because I think this is kind of like the meat of the before they kind of get into their one-on-one talking, but Rodney says that his kind of biggest fear is that he doesn't want to die before he's a husband and father. And Michelle says that she really fears complacency, being complacent in a relationship. And I don't know, do either of those resonate with you? Do you have other fears yourself? Have you thought about this yourself? What is my biggest fear when it comes to dating and relationships?
Sure. I mean, some of those are my biggest. I guess not my biggest, but they are some existential fears that I feel to an extent. But I think my biggest fear is also your biggest fear.
What's my biggest fear?
Spiders.
Oh, sure, but I don't know that counts in this case.
They didn't specify. They just said biggest fear, right?
I think they probably want you to open up and talk about something a little bit deeper. Yes, I'm terrified of spiders. There's no doubt about that. But, I don't know. I don't know what my biggest fear in relationships are. But,
Yeah, I mean,
Other than
that's a
it,
little different.
like I guess like everybody fears like, am I unlovable, right? Like that's
Sure.
something that you think about. It's like, oh, can anybody truly love me?
Yeah, and I mean, I I would guess that even the most confident and like independent people still have a degree of like, oh, will I find somebody for me?
Hmm.
So, you know, like we're humans, we naturally like desire companionship. So, it seems like a pretty common fear, I would
Hmm.
think.
Yeah. So that kind of wraps up the first portion of the date, though, where and they move on to the boat ride and dinner portion of Rodney and Michelle, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
Josh, kind of talk me through some of the conversations.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah, good cheesy pun.
Sorry, I'm skipping a bit ahead.
No, no, talk me through the actual like Michelle and Rodney conversation that they had, right? Like the highlights of what you took from their one-on-one in their date.
Um, Honestly, I think I blacked out through that, and I only remember the absolutely.
Oh, really? Well, one thing that Michelle brings up is that she didn't always feel protected in her last relationship.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and how when she was trying to explain to her previous partner some of her emotions, she felt like she had to justify herself to him, and she's
Well,
like,
and yeah, she even brought up the anecdote about like going to the mall or wherever, and
mhm.
uh,
Somebody called her a racial slur.
some woman, yeah, um,
Yeah.
which was clearly uncalled for in any circumstance, but it's not even like Michelle did anything here that would like anger anybody.
Mhm.
Um, so it's like even worse. And uh, this ex-boyfriend of hers was kind of pinning it on her to be like, hey, you shouldn't let this word have power over you.
Mhm.
Like, well, yeah, people still are being hateful towards me for no
Nothing.
valid reason.
For no
uh
reason.
and that hurts me. And
Yeah.
he just didn't seem to get that.
Didn't seem to compute. Yeah.
And so that seems like that something Michelle wants to have, understandably so.
Yeah.
Like just having some understanding where your partner can validate your feelings and try to comfort you. And like, I know I've been guilty of this in the past, where sometimes you go and try to fix your partner's problems, but really you just need to be there to be supportive.
Mhm. Yeah.
Just be there for them.
Listen and acknowledge what they're going through and try to support them through it. Like you can't go in with the mindset of like, oh, you're wrong. This is what you should do differently to like be right. And I don't know. That just seems wildly unhealthy in that situation too. So, I mean, she says, she goes, I don't need to justify my emotions, and that's fine. Like, I agree with that. Like, nobody can tell you how to feel about something, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. So I like their conversation. I think they like. I feel like Rodney seems like somebody that would be very supportive too. Like, I feel like that she won't end up with Rodney. That's gonna be my hot take, but I think that he'd be a good person to pick, right? So
Yeah, no, I think Rodney seems like a very good person who's like caring and
mhm.
emotional, and here the fact that he's also biracial too, that is a better connection for two of them. Not
Mhm.
that you can't hate people out of your race, obviously.
Mhm.
But like Michelle's mentioned a few times, like the struggles that she's had with that, and it seems like if the person she ends up with can't understand that either through their own experiences or like just talking to her, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like I mean, like anything else though, if you can't get on the same
Sure.
page, I mean, you're it's not gonna work. So I think that's definitely important to her. So it seems to have come up enough too that it's like it just seems to be like a core value. Yeah, she wants to be listened to. She wants to be understood. She wants somebody that doesn't necessarily have the same experiences as her, but can at least like show some empathy towards the negative parts and you know, grow together. And so I think a lot of people want that. Yeah.
Want that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I feel like that's a very like a generic thing that most people would want. So I think it's healthy, and she at least has challenged people when she's not getting what she wants out of them, and we've seen that on multiple times now. But
yeah, and she seems like she's very confident in the fact that she's not gonna settle for someone who will not like be understanding and caring and compassionate with her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is good.
So Rodney gets the rose, unsurprisingly. He's chipping away at the friend zone. I like Rodney. I don't have a whole lot of long-term prospects for him personally. I don't think. So, I don't think he makes it. Let's put it this way. I don't think Rodney makes it to Final Four. So.
No hometowns for Rodney?
No hometowns for Rodney. Nope. I don't think so. So, I think at best, I'll put him at 4th. That's at best. Absolute best. I don't think he makes it further than 4th. So, but we'll see, you know. So, but I really strongly feel like Rodney won't make it to hometowns. But
I think at this point, like after having this kind of good date, his play really just needs to be in
cruise
to having that more romantic
connection. Yeah, agreed.
Not being like, hey, yeah, we're playful and stuff, to the point where it's like, yeah, you know, I like want to have a good time with you, but I want to have the hard times too.
He just needs to kind of get past. I mean, like I think he is still friend zone personally, and so he needs to. I mean, if you want to call the friend zone a thing, I don't really know where people fall on that, but regardless, he is definitely not being viewed as a romantic partner long term in my mind, in Michelle's eyes. I think that he is very much so like somebody that seems fun to be around, that is could be a good friend, but not necessarily a husband. So, Group date 2, Josh?
Yeah.
All right, group date 2. This is who's going on it. Jamie, Leroy, Chris G, Chris S, Romeo, Casey, Malik, Brandon, and they're having a poetry slam. Kind of a weird one. But yeah, so
it's a rehash of one we've done a few times.
We've seen similar stuff to this for sure. Yeah. But we get a poetry slam. They each get a notebook and get to kind of write out their feelings and what they want to say to Michelle. And first person we see up is Brandon. And I was like, oh, you know, his poem's okay, right? Like, I felt like it got the job done, at least. And
yeah, and so the thing with these poems is that they're all supposed to be, like, very personal and about you and your journey.
Yep.
Get your here journey with Michelle.
Yeah. So you're supposed to try to open up and be vulnerable and share something and everything. And so Romeo is next, and by God, he just gives me more cheese.
It was very formulaic.
Romeo, oh Romeo, where art thou? You know, like, please stop with the Shakespearean allegories, right? Like,
he's not helping us science nerds look good here.
No, he just seems like a giant meme of himself, right?
Yeah.
At this point, because he just it's rehashed, right? Like, he has nothing else to bring, and I don't know. It's just like, come on. I drafted him too. Come on, Romeo. I need more. I need more, damn it. So, Malik gets up there and talks about being broken a lot. I didn't really understand where he was getting at with that. Chris G gets up there, and he's really big into spoken word, and said a bunch of random shit that made no sense to me. I don't know about you, but like, it's like you are like the walrus on a summer day, swimming in the ocean, looking
he
at
had like that meter and cadence going on with it too. Like, you could tell that he's really into it. skill. Not that like that's an easy thing to go out and do and just like anyone can do it, but it seemed like, you know, he's really into it, but it wasn't necessarily like reflective of how his performance went.
Oh, if I was Michelle and I listened to what he said, I'd be like, what the fuck did he just tell me? Like, I have no clue what that was about, or what that meant, or what he was trying to convey. So, it was fun. He strung a bunch of long words together. I don't know in what context they're supposed to mean anything, but it was fun, I guess. So, yeah. But last person that they kind of show up there is Jamie. And, man, he just kind of just starts talking, right? Like, he sounded like Robert Frost, you know, I took the path less traveled type of bullshit.
Oh, I didn't write anything down in my journal, so I'm just gonna freewheel
or
this.
I thought he was like, I forgot my journal, right? Like, oh, I lost it. So, time to freeball it. I don't know, that really didn't make a whole lot of sense to me either. I was like, Jamie, what are you doing? What are you saying?
Well, it sounded like to me like it was a rehearsed story, like he's read this like inspirational thing online before,
mm-hmm.
And he's like memorized that and used that in like pitches that he's given.
Yeah, I did not understand what the point of that was either. It's like, oh, you know, that, like I said, it sounded like he was just reading a Robert Frost poem about taking the path less traveled. So I was like, oh, okay, whatever. So,
well, and I guess maybe I didn't fully understand exactly what he was saying with it, but it seemed like he was putting himself into like this kind of white knight position with Michelle too. It was talking about like this lonely girl, and then guardian angel comes down over her or something.
Mm.
It just like, it didn't seem like it was a positive relationship there.
No. Here's a story about a grown man that comes and manipulates a woman to like, I see what you're saying, right? Like
honestly, like with what they showed, Michelle's reaction seemed pretty off-put by it. Like, she looked kind of like confused and bothered. So,
well, I don't know that
she didn't really talk about it.
Yeah, I don't know that I saw it myself, like that she was off-put by it, but I can't imagine that she liked that, right? Like, who would? But,
like, that's weird.
Anyway, that's kind of the poetry slam portion, right? So, snaps. Moving on to the second part of the date, where they actually get to kind of talk to each other. The first person up is Brandon, and Brandon talks to Michelle about how he feels very similar to her. He felt like he was kind of a late bloomer, and to him that means that he was really short and then grew a couple inches late in high school. I don't think that is what a late bloomer is, Brandon, but that's okay. And I just think he's crazy about her, and I feel like they have a lot of chemistry still. They just seem like a couple that could sit there and not talk about anything and just really enjoy each other's company.
Yeah, I kind of see it. It feels like a very, like, high school kind of romance, maybe.
Yeah.
Or at least like a honeymoon kind of thing. Like, I think that he's really into her, but I'm not quite sold on the sustainability yet. It feels like maybe there's a little bit more maturity that still needs to come.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly on Brandon's side before anything would work between them.
Yeah, we'll see.
That's just kind of my take. I don't know, because I like Brandon. I think he's a good guy as well. Just I'm not sure about the depth just yet between them.
Okay. I feel like they have an undeniable connection in the same way that Nate and her do, and even like her and Joe. Like, in my mind, Brandon, Nate, and Joe are kind of the front runners here, and then there's everybody else.
I agree with you there.
So, but yeah, so the next person we get to see a little bit of is Casey. Casey sits down and makes a remark about how he's wearing a shirt that looks like the couch, and I'm like, Casey, you are fucking boring. So, like, I don't even have anything else to say, right? Like, that's the only thing of substance that we saw, that he felt like he looked like the couch. So, move on to the next one.
Where do we go from here?
One of my favorite things that was said today that is Romeo said that he wanted to be Spock.
Yes.
And I was like, hell yeah, brother. So, and I was like, oh my gosh, what a perfect human being, right? Like, not for good reasons though, right? So, in the sense that it would be easier to be less, like, more Vulcan-like, less emotional, is kind of what I gathered from what he was saying. And
which
I was like,
might be a bit of a concern for Michelle, because I think
she does not know what he's talking about, right? Like, I got the impression that she was like, who is Spock? I don't know. Maybe she did know, but I didn't get the feeling that she did.
I think she would know who Spock is, but maybe
not into context.
Like, the depth.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I
not in the
more
sense that
like,
he did.
Oh yeah, I'm this cool, smart space traveler.
Yeah. Not in the same. She did not understand it in the way that he meant it, or was trying to convey it to her. I felt like. So.
Yeah, but like part of me too is also like, okay, like this is what I want to see about you, Romeo, because you're being like very genuine here and like unique and quirky.
Yeah.
This isn't just like, oh, I'm going into like the cheese formulaic.
Oh, I know.
Romance. I
liked it, but I fear that like the way that he's communicating is not getting across effectively. How about that?
Yeah.
So yeah. Like what is getting seen is just the whole like Romeo Juliet type thing that he keeps rehashing, but he is definitely layered. He has depth to him, but he's not really communicating his depth to her. And I don't feel like they're building a strong connection, and I don't have a lot of faith that Romeo's going to be around much longer.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be able to remedy that fast enough.
Yeah, and Leroy...
like, they'll get to the point where it's like, okay, yeah, Romeo, you're still here, but we're kind of square 2 while everyone's at square 5.
Sure, that's where I think so too. It's like I feel like he's gonna fall behind and already kind of has. Leroy gives her a cloth. It has some meaning. I don't want to like talk out of my ass because I don't know what it is, but we don't really see them talking at all.
Pentacloth, correct?
What?
Pentacloth?
Okay. Do you know anything about it?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't either.
But again, we're both very white and not really fierce enough to be able to talk about this.
Yeah, it seemed like a nice gesture. I honestly don't know enough about it, so I don't really want to talk more out of my ass.
Some significance to him.
Yeah, I still really like Leroy. I don't want to take that away from him. He seems very nice. So
yeah.
Jamie is kind of the last person we see a little bit of with Michelle on the second part of this one-on-one date. And I don't remember what they talked about, but I did write down, oh, that kiss was weird. And I do remember that because there was like I felt like he like lizarded his tongue out to like it was bizarre. I won't describe it in further depth than that, but I don't know. Did you think it was weird? We're starting to see kind of cracks between Jamie and Michelle anyway.
It was a weird interaction. This might have been where my note was referring to. Because, I think Michelle seemed off here, too. So maybe I didn't really see much during the poetry. But it was bizarre. And I was scrolling through Reddit, and somebody actually got a screenshot of while they were kissing, Jamie staring directly into the camera.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, super weird.
Well, I mean, like the entire time?
Not the entire time. It was just like a split moment. But, you know, you've got this gorgeous woman in front of you who's kissing you.
I think the people that are kissing with their eyes open to begin with are psychopaths, right? Like, I feel like the whole, like, Matt James things where he kept kissing with his eyes open, I'm like, dude, fucking weird.
I mean, I'm not gonna slam that. I don't think it's as weird as everybody says it is.
It's so weird. Oh, it's so uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable to watch on the television. Do you agree with that?
It's weird watching people on TV.
Yeah, so it's weird.
Also, how would you ever know that the other person does it unless your eyes are also open?
What?
So there's no way to know.
Oh, okay. So when the second psychopath you're making out with also opens their eyes, and that
then they're just a match, right?
No. So... It's so bad.
How can you judge the other person if you're doing the same thing?
No. You should just not.
I think this is only an issue because it's on TV.
I don't feel the same way. I feel like it is weird. So...
Ladies, we can make out eyes open or closed.
Oh, God. All right. Well, anyway, Jamie's making out with Michelle and the camera, evidently, with his lizard tongue. And it doesn't seem to matter because ultimately, Brandon gets the date rose. Not really surprising to me. So,
did you know this is actually the first time in the series history where somebody's gotten the date rose in back-to-back dates?
Oh, I did not know that.
Because Brandon got it last week as well.
Oh, I had no idea that this is the first time in history that that's happened.
Yeah,
but,
that's pretty crazy, right? We're 20 plus seasons in.
Well, you know who's super butthurt about it, though?
Oh, yeah.
Jamie.
Jamie.
What on earth was the conversation he had with the producer after that? After the date?
Yeah, that was so weird. I'm like, this dude's hitting on her. Right?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm very confused by what we witnessed.
It was a mix of shit talking the other guys and then kind of being like, hey, baby.
I thought, well, honestly, Josh, like, it almost seemed to me is Jamie a plant by the producers to spy on the other guys? Like, that's what it seemed like for a moment. But no, he's just weird. He's just...
No, he's super weird. And I mean, like, I would think if he was a plant, he would be a little more chill. Because, like, I guess, you know, he's chill in front of the other guys, but in everything we see of him personally, he's, like, very, like, uptight.
Yeah.
Like, he constantly seems, like, calculated and everything.
He talks a lot about, yeah, I mean, he talks a lot about how, like, oh, Michelle's in spring break mode. She's got to get out of that because, you know, I'm prime rib. I don't know that he said that, but this is my allegory. He's like, I'm prime rib, and the rest of these guys are, like, ground up hamburger type of deal. Like, it seems very, like, narcissist, elitist. I'm very confused by whatever his relationship is with this producer to begin with. And the conversation doesn't make any fucking sense. So,
yeah, no,
what is going on?
Super weird to me, because I'm like, what do you expect the producer to say here?
I know, that's what
like, oh, yeah, you know, that's how it is.
Mm-hmm.
Haha.
It was very confusing.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
So,
if there were any questions about Jamie's character, like, prior to this, they just got, like, compounded right here.
Mm-hmm. Well, Josh, shall we talk about the cocktail party now, or the very short one that it was? So
yeah.
Nate gets to Michelle first. They do the little running away thing. We kind of touched on that. It's cute. Yeah. I don't really have much else to say about it. But let's get into, like, the big drama with Jamie, you know, of course, because this is where everything kind of comes out, is Rick goes and has a conversation with Michelle, and he's like, hey, just so you know, everybody's really confused about last week because nobody really knows even what you were talking about with the whole, like, being doubted. Like, we are very out of the loop.
Nobody said anything against you.
Yeah, well, it's like, it was...
Nobody will admit to saying anything against you.
Well, yeah, and she was like, oh, all of these concerns actually came from Jamie. Jamie's the one that brought it up. And Rick's like, that motherfucker. So, they eventually some of the guys talk to Jamie about it, right? So
yeah, it's Nate and Casey along with Rick, right?
Yep. And once again, Jamie starts talking about things that seem a little off-putting, right? He's like, what would the viewers think, and la da 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 da, and stuff like that.
Oh my god, he's so sketchy.
Yeah, and Nate goes, fuck the viewers. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
So, things are blowing up. Obviously, Jamie is kind of the in a bad position here. And Michelle comes in and confronts him in front of everybody and was like, Jamie, why don't you tell everybody what you told me? You know, more or less, she's like, all right, go ahead, right? You got something to say, then say it. And he lays out what his version of it was, and Michelle was like, do you not see how that's problematic from what you told me? And it just kind of became a, well, we're just going to agree to disagree. And she was like, okay, well then we're going to, like, can I talk to you alone? And she's like, I'm going to walk you out. This is done. Right? Yep. And so, I mean, just another blow up. Another person leaving before the rose ceremony because of poor behavior.
Which is crazy because of how well his one-on-one date
went. I know.
Her. Like,
he got the first one-on-one.
He could have played this so long, but he blew it up in his own face.
Oh, he crashed and burned hard. So,
I was also really surprised here because my impression is that Jamie's a pretty smart person. So the fact that he didn't have any like contingency plan, like work out what his story was gonna be, how he's gonna frame it.
There were a lot of ums in there. It was like oh,
he seemed totally off guard and unprepared, trying to put together this lie.
He was
front of everybody's face.
He was trying to essentially like confabulate something where he knows isn't necessarily true, but he could at least believe it, right? And he just couldn't get there, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I agree with you. He was looking for something in the back of his head to say, and he was like, maybe I'm just wrong. You know, like, subconsciously, he's thinking it's like, oh, you know, I'm in the wrong here. So...
Well, because it, to me, like, he at least... There was no way to justify, really, him not coming out and owning up to it, other than saying, man, you know, I was embarrassed because I got it wrong. And I think that was the rest of his play, to just be like, yeah, you know, I was talking to a couple guys, and I was under the impression from talking to them, this was something that everybody was talking about, and I guess I kind of blew it up into more of what it was, and so I came to you with my concern because I didn't want it to get out of hand.
Yeah.
And
he should have owned something earlier.
I'm sorry for that.
Yeah, he should have just been like, hey, I think I caused a lot of drama that was unnecessary. I was in the wrong. I just want to come to you now and tell you this. So
it's definitely still a concern, but at least
it probably gets him out of getting walked out.
Michelle will be willing to like
figure it out with you.
Buy on your date. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna have to like talk some more here, but you know, you're owning up to your mistake, and that's mature.
Yeah, well, anyway, it didn't happen. See you never, Jamie, right?
Yeah,
so
not even close. So no.
It's like, all right,
no
peace.
Off my teeth here.
Bye. And so Jamie leaves. Cocktail party canceled. On to the rose ceremony, right, Josh?
Yeah.
So
yeah, you know, can't mess with the lead on the night of the cocktail party.
Nope.
So you're just gonna end up getting it canceled.
Yep. So Jamie is canceled. Jamie is gone. He will lose a point for the rejects because none of us drafted him. First roses were already given out to Martin, Rodney, and Brandon from their dates. Next rose goes to Joe, and Rick gets the rose after that. No surprises so far to me. I don't know about you. So.
Yep. Nope. I agreed.
Leroy, Nate, and Casey. I think that Casey is pretty, like, skating by at this point, so I was surprised that he got one so early, personally. Not that the order really matters, but I don't feel like Casey's going to be here much longer, personally.
Yeah, I think he's probably towards the bottom. Looking at the guys who actually get sent home, I'm not really sure that I could make a case one way or the other. Be like, so and so should have made it instead of him.
I know. I feel that way about a lot of people though, where it's like, honestly, we have all these guys in the group on the bottom that I feel like could have replaced any of those guys that got sent home. So minus the Peter. So, but Chris G, Chris S, and Clayton get the next set of roses. Once again, like, I feel like Clayton's made a little bit of a move, but everybody else is just kind of there, right? So
Yeah, not so sure on Chris G, and then I don't trust Chris S really.
No, especially with the previews.
Talking to some people, they think that he's gonna come in and start some shit. Like he's gonna be our next source of drama.
Yeah, we need another storyline.
We'll
so, if not him, who? Right? So.
Yeah.
Last 3 roses of the night: Olu, Romeo, and finally, to cap off the Will versus Peter drama, Will gets the last rose. No rose for Peter. Goodbye. So, with this list, that leaves Spencer, Peter, Malik, and LT going home. So,
yep.
And honestly, looking at the list of guys that made it through, I see this and I say, Olu, Romeo, Chris G, Chris S, Casey. Those are a lot of guys that could have easily replaced any of the guys that went home, minus Jamie and Peter, right?
Yeah, I mean, so as we talked about earlier, we don't really know what happened with LT.
No, he didn't say anything the entire time he was on the show.
Didn't show up.
I don't know what the guy sounds like.
I mean, he seemed a little weird in his introduction, and he was an older guy, so, you know, I was thinking maybe he would have gone last week, but he is still here, so
I'm not surprised he went home.
I'm fine with him being at the bottom. Haven't really seen much out of Malik at all. Spencer was there a little bit at least, so
Spencer, I feel like
surprised to see him go.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and assume that Spencer probably gave her vibes that she was not gonna be interested in him. Like, she knew enough about him to say comfortably, okay, well, Spencer can go home.
Yeah.
But so, like, he kind of fell into the, like, well, he got the time, but he just didn't really have the vibes. So, yeah, I feel like he probably fell into that number. So, I think really, like, any of those guys could go home next week between Casey, Chris G, Chris S, Olu, and Romeo. I think those are probably the 5 guys that I would expect to leave next week if there's an option. So.
Yeah. They're definitely the most in danger, so they need to do something to save their roses.
Because honestly, I feel like some of these guys are very clearly at the top, right? Like, I look at this and I see Brandon, I see Joe, I see Nate, and Rick, Rodney, Martin kind of is the next tier, and maybe Will just slightly below that, and everybody else, really. So
yeah, like the layers are
pretty,
where you can see
I feel like
rising to the top.
I feel similarly. So let me pull up the scores now so that we can update it on the screen too. So I managed, let's see if I can't get this to work. So the leaderboard, not a whole lot changes after everything's said and done, but we do have some more points for people, and it becomes a little bit of a tighter race in the middle of everything. So with Connor still very much so losing the game. So I earned a total of 4 points this week, and that put me at 16 total. So you earned a total of 7 points, it looks like, to put you at 24.
Yeah, I finally said goodbye to one of my guys.
Yep, with Malik going home. Connor has no people left, so he will remain at 2. Will ended up getting 4 points this week, and that puts him at 15 total. Sophia ended up getting a total of 5 points this week, which puts her in a catch-up position to put her at 14. Good old Shifty has a total of 20 points now. So he's at least hanging in strong right now. And everybody else, they ended up earning a total of 4 points to put them at 26. So, after everything's said and done, there are the new scores. Definitely some moving and shaking. Like I said, it's a pretty close race, I feel like, between me, Will, and Sophia. And then you and Sam kind of have the lead otherwise. So, we'll just have to see what happens, right? So,
Yeah.
Josh, what are you expecting to see next week?
Like I said, we kind of cut out the fat here.
Yeah.
There's got to be some sort of twist, some sort of wrench thrown into the thing to cause some drama. Otherwise, I think we're gonna have to get into like some pretty like serious conversations on the show instead, and that being like drawing point.
Yeah.
Timeline for the show, it's supposed to be over next month. So
Oh, really? It does feel kind of sped up, don't you think?
yeah, the timeline feels a little compressed. Maybe it's just
we're down to
it's just in
14
my
guys.
yeah.
So, I mean, time's a ticking, but
Like, we're gonna be over before Christmas, I think.
yeah.
Because then new season of The Bachelor starts on January 3rd.
So, I think we're going to see a little bit more drama from Chris S. based off the previews that we saw, and I can't imagine that it's going to end well for him. So, I think he'll probably end up going next episode if he does, in fact, cause any drama. That's what I'm anticipating seeing.
No, they never really addressed anything with Will and Michelle so much with like the drama with him and Peter.
Yeah.
But if Will gets into a fight with like another guy somehow,
Oh, it's probably done for him.
That happening with.
No.
Yeah, I feel like that would be enough to just be like, all right, Will,
yeah,
you got to go.
Yeah, you're not doing any better, right? Like you can't get along with anybody. How are you gonna handle any sort of adversity you come into contact with me, right? So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and that was the episode. So we will be back again next week. We have another episode of The Bachelorette coming up. We are down to 14 guys. We will see who eventually makes it through. As you can see by the leaderboard, Josh still has a commanding lead. I don't think he's going to let up at this point, looking at who he's got. But we'll just have to see. Anyway, thank you all for coming by, and thank you for the new followers that we picked up today. I do appreciate it. We just like doing this for fun, and I hope that you enjoy it. Josh, do you have anything to say before we go?
Yeah, I do. I actually have a couple things
Go for it.
to me, because I guess they're relevant to my life. So I meant to bring this up on last week's show and kind of forgot about it because I panicked and didn't prepare. But 2 weeks ago now, I was at a Columbus Blue Jackets game. And they had a little like promo for one of the players up on the Jumbotron in one of the breaks. And so they did like a little bio on Oliver Bjorkstrand, who's a Danish player that's been on the team for a few years. And he admitted in his interview that he is a Bachelorette fan.
Oh, so he's going to be on?
I want to formally extend an invitation to Oliver Bjorkstrand to come and join us.
Oh, I thought you were saying that he would be on the show next season.
No.
So, all right.
I'm not sure of his relationship status. He might get in trouble for that.
Sure. If he wants on, I'll put him on.
If he wants to come on and talk to us about this, I would be elated. So, I left him a tag on Twitter. Maybe he'll respond, reach out. Who knows?
I'll start pulling some guest hosts, so we can start picking up some people.
And
keep going. I want to hear where else this goes.
This is again personal to me, I guess.
Okay.
Possibly personal to you. I saw on like Facebook or Reddit or something. Apparently, Connor is coming through and doing like a piano bar tour, and one of the places he's coming is Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, so we're going to the piano bar with Connor?
Yeah. November 20th is playing at Howl at the Moon.
You give me 15
here in
days?
Columbus. Hey, I just found out about it today.
I'm almost certain that I'm at work, so I don't think I can get there. If you go, please
tonight.
Please go. Please go and take pictures, and we'll make it the background of the pod the day after.
Yeah,
so
if I get the chance to talk to him, and maybe he'll come on and join us. Who knows?
That'd be hilarious.
Who knows,
There's
people?
zero chance, but but I love it. I love it.
Seriously, but yeah, big things maybe coming to this show. Find out.
I love that
He's also going to like Louisville,
you think big.
And, Indianapolis, I think. So if
All
he's
right.
coming to your city, go check him out.
Well, if you get Connor B here, Josh, I will forever be indebted to you. But we will see. Anything else, Josh?
That's all I got.
Oh,
Follow me on Twitter at KebabLOL. Have a good night, folks, and keep your fingers crossed for us.
Yep, and you can always follow me here or on my Twitter of the same name at the Han Factor, and I think my Instagram is similar too, but that's linked down below here in the Twitch. So follow the YouTube as well if you want. That helps us a lot. But if not, have a great day. So bye everybody. See you later.